Hi everyone, my name is Jala.
And my name is Madison, and we are members of the Indigo Project. We're chilling out in our office right now, as we do every day before we save the world. So Jala.
You went off script.
World.
Improvising now. But actually decided to go to a different college. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi. How you guys doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Wonderful.
Sweet. You ready to start this thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, we'll introduce ourselves again. My name is Jala.
And I'm Madison from the Indigo Project, and we're going to introduce you to the world. This is Matthew Abrams, co-founder and vision keeper of Mycelium School, a 12-week program designed for passionate social entrepreneurs.
So welcome, Matt, and thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so the Mycelium learning journey is based around cultivating the true potential of every student. We use this word a lot here at Indigo, potential. How does Mycelium access this great reserve differently from traditional colleges or universities?
Sure. Well, I think really it starts with a different story, a different pedagogy around the question of what is education for. So traditionally, institutions are designed to support people to fit into a system, a social system. And what we're realizing is that social system isn't fully serving all of our people. So what we're thinking about, the kind of questions that we're holding, are not so much how to support people to succeed and survive in the current system, but rather to imagine and create and build this new system. So we aren't so much focused on supporting people in a way that allows them to understand the more mechanistic ways of showing up in the world that allow them to fit into that system. So we ask the question of what is possible. We come from an appreciative place, which is looking at really that question of what is possible. So rather than kind of traditionally pushing in information, we draw out what the passion is, what the purpose is. So we focus on that clarity of purpose and then support our participants. We call them participants because it's a little more active than being a student. We support them in developing the skills, the connections, the sense of self, a lot of the things that are overlooked in the more traditional systems.
Great. So moving forward with this new system, how do you see the future of higher education evolving, especially in terms of developing these new leaders and change makers of tomorrow?
Sure. Well, again, if we're looking at how do we create a system that supports people to exist in this existing system or survive or succeed in this existing system, our current system is great. But, your question is a very good one, is that we're looking to step into a kind of new chapter of human evolution. So what we're seeing is, rather than understanding more about the kind of specific steps needed and the specific skill sets needed, we're realizing that there are new skill sets, new capacities that are really being more valued in the emerging workplace, and B, just more necessary to step into this new world. So one of those things are focusing on agility. So this is knowing that we're moving into a more uncertain future. Things are changing in a lot of ways more rapidly than they ever have before in the history of humanity. So building capacities within people, and I guess a good analogy here is like the roadmap versus the compass. So the roadmap maybe is that traditional system, like you learn these skill sets, and then you go get a job, and then you get a promotion, and then you have a kid, and then you move to Fort Lauderdale, blah, blah, blah. So what we're realizing is that we need to build a capacity to be more agile in how we're delivering learning experiences, but also build that capacity of agility in humans. So when the outside context changes very quickly, people can be grounded in values and in purpose and change the way that they're doing things, but really remain rooted on a deeper level, almost like bamboo, you can imagine. So that's one. There are some things that are different in this kind of emerging ecosystem of education as well, whereas in the traditional system, it's all about kind of numbers and metrics and testing and seeing, you know, how people are evolving. In what we think is a pretty one-dimensional or limited space. So we're bringing in different capacities like confidence. You know, if we're going to create a new story and step into that story, it's scary. You know, it hasn't happened before, so we need to cultivate elements of confidence and vulnerability and a lot of the elements that are, you know, kind of more in the peripheries, if at all, in the traditional system. And then, you know, as you mentioned in the beginning, social entrepreneurship or purpose-driven entrepreneurship, ways to really synthesize adding value to the world and doing it from a place of meaning. So business is already something that's a really strong, consistent pattern in our social system. So we look at what's already there, not necessarily starting something totally new like, you know, communism or something like that, but looking at, like, how does our system exist already, and then how do we hack it? What are the leverage points where we can use that system, but just put a different story to it? So if people can be developing businesses based on meaning and value and purpose and interconnectivity and some of these kind of like higher values that transcend specifically financial profit, then people are going to be more excited, they're going to be more alive, they're going to be more plugged in, they're going to be more innovative, and that's actually going to help evolve our social and environmental systems. So we are bringing, the name mycelium is this underground network of the mushroom, and it transfers information and nutrients, it's interconnected, it's agile, it's complex, so it really embodies a lot of the elements of what Mycelium, the learning program, is. So we look at helping people develop a framework of seeing businesses as these interconnected elements. So how can they, A, start with purpose and then connect into all their stakeholders, not just the shareholder, which is one of the stakeholders, but all their different stakeholders, the community, the employees, the co-creators, the earth, even as a stakeholder, and come from a place of purpose and add value to all those stakeholders to evolve our social and environmental systems.
Ooh, that's a pretty great idea there.
What advice would you have for students or participants who are thinking of going into that traditional model but would really be suited best for something alternative like Mycelium?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, it has to do with being honest with ourselves, and there's a tremendous amount of courage required to be yourself. You know, it sounds almost cliched, I mean, but there's so much truth to it when you see, like for me, 100% of, I went to a public high school, 100% of my graduating class went on to college. I didn't even have the capacity to think about maybe not going to college. It was just such a strong current. So I think if you, future student questioning what your next step is as far as developing your education and your life journey, if you can really check in with yourself and ask yourself the question of, is it important for you to find your authentic path in a way that may not already exist, then, check in on that deep level. And if you are, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a lawyer, the traditional way is the way to go. Those are very specific skill sets that you need. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you know, there's no playbook, there's no like roadmap for that. So really experimenting and experiencing and failing and learning and being in a more nurturing environment for that, that's probably a better path for you. So I would ask yourself first, you know, do you have any degree of clarity on what your purpose is? And it's fine if you don't. If you don't, then maybe that's a good first step, is taking some steps in the direction of understanding clarity and purpose. What is your role? What brings you fully alive on this planet? Once you have that, then you have, you know, some clarity, some kind of North Star, and you can begin ideating what is the best path to meet that end result, and understanding that that end result may evolve. But once you have that clarity, then you can decide, okay, a traditional path is really the way to go. But you're asking, you know, what if it's someone that's not? Then I would say there are so many programs supporting change agents, innovators, you know, original thinkers and critical doers, that kind of stuff out there. So go research them. Like, I have a personal website. I have a list of probably 30 different resources as far as different alternative education programs that are really supporting emerging innovators and disruptors to do their work in the world, to hack our current system, and to usher in that world that we know is possible.
That's great. We've actually used your website to guide our project, which is creating an alternative higher education database. So you can find a lot of those links on our website. It's indigoproject.org. We'd like to thank you so much, Matt, for sharing your expertise with us and the rest of the Indigo community. We believe it's vital to discuss the evolution of education, and we really appreciate your input.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you guys for the work that you're doing. It's so necessary.
It really is. Somebody's got to do it. So for all tuned in, you can learn more about Mycelium at their website, mycelium.is. You can also respond to our discussion at indigoproject.org.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.
You too.